You're telling me I owe the government $31,000 to go to college, but I can't pay that because college didn't even get me a job. It literally didn't get me a job. So I owe $31,000. I don't have a job.
I have $108,000 in student loan debt, and I need advice on what approach to take to pay it off. I have two types of loans. They are direct grad and direct unsubsidized. These are the loan types I have if you're interested. I'm currently enrolled in a standard repayment plan. I really want to do the SAVE plan, but I know I can't apply for that one right now. My job is not a nonprofit, so I'm not eligible for PSLF. I'm currently auto-enrolled in this one, and I want to be enrolled in this one, but I know I can't apply to join this one right now, and then I just want to throw all my money at it and pay it off as quickly as I can, I think. But I don't know anything about student loans or if I'm even allowed to do that, so if anyone has any advice, please let me know.
A lot of young Americans are drowning in student loan debt and they don't see a way out for them. It's not even uncommon these days to see someone with over $100,000 in student loan debt, just like this girl. What's even sadder is after they graduate from college, some of them can't even find an entry-level job. And that makes the situation even tougher for them because the student loans is supposed to be an investment and they're supposed to find a really good job and be able to pay that loan back. So a lot of these people are under immense pressure and stress. And you could be unsympathetic and say, oh, it's their fault. They knew what they were getting themselves into before taking out that loan. But the fact of the matter is, with financial literacy being so low among high school students, a lot of these people don't even know what they're getting themselves into. They don't know what a 7% interest means or what $100,000 in debt really represent. They barely have any concept of how much money that is because they're not even in the labor force yet. This student loan debt is really crushing a lot of these people and making their lives really miserable and almost hopeless.
Hey, so this is probably the most vulnerable post I will have ever made in the history of time. And for those of you who this little blue halo is already triggering you, I'm so sorry. But I'm gonna hopefully make you feel better, and I'm honestly having a weekly crash out. I need help from you as well. This is how much money I owe in student debt for my physician assistant degree. And before you go ahead and take out the phrase that is so commonly used, oh, but you knew how much you were taking out in the beginning. No, a lot of this has to do with interest alone accruing, while I am in a hell of a limbo of what we like to call administrative forbearance, trying to get into the SAVE plan. So I worked with a student loan counselor after I graduated, and I was told to consolidate all of my Direct Plus grad student loans to be one loan so that I could apply to the SAVE repayment plan. Right as soon as I started and submitted my application was when all of the chaos happened in the courts, where they just can't get their head out of their ass and figure out what they're doing. And so I never actually got into the SAVE plan. And so I have been accruing interest at a 7% rate. I've not had to pay my monthly payment. My monthly payment has been $0 because of a previous tax return when I was making $0 income as a student. But still, this amount is a literal noose around my neck. And I don't think I will ever pay this off. I fear that I will not be able to ever own a home as someone still earning six figures salary, let alone children. I would love and aspire to have a child someday, but this really, I don't want to say like makes me suicidal, but like it truly makes it really hard to get out of bed every morning. And I know I'm not alone. I know I don't even have it that bad, but I'm truly asking as a cry for help, like how you compartmentalize the stress of something like this, knowing that you'll never, ever get out of debt, because it would take an act of God to take this amount away. And people repay the principal loan multiple times over in situations like me, but they never get rid of their debt because of the system at hand. And that is what is so fucked about student loans for people in advanced degrees like doctor, nurse, anesthetist, nurse practitioner, physician assistant. What else can I think of? Any degree program that takes multiple, loans and at least 6 figures to take out to go to these programs. And I did this to get a better life for myself, get a salary that actually amounted to something for my future family. And yet this is what happened. And a lot of it wasn't even the fault of my own, because I had no way of predicting that this would happen. I had no way of knowing that SAVE would not be around in the future. PSLF is my only option. I do work at a 501c3, but even then, the payment is like pushing almost $1,000 a month, and that will soon become even unaffordable for me. So yeah, I'm literally at a loss.
I'm $71,842.35 in student loan debt. I've been using the snowball method to try to pay this off before my fiance gets into CRNA school, and the current loan that I'm working on is for an amount of $11,426.38. I'm using the snowball method to pay off my student loans, which means basically once I pay one off, I roll the amount into my next one, and I use any extra money that I have to pay off my student loans. I'm focusing on my private student loans first since they have a higher interest rate, and the loan I'm currently working on is for $11,426.38. My minimum monthly payments are paid, and today we're making a $1,000 payment on this loan that I'm trying to get rid of. I just press send, so the money is sent, and my current balance now will be $10,426.38. My goal is to get this paid off by summer so I could start focusing on my next loan, so let's see how I could do. I will gladly take any advice because finances are not my strong suit. I'm trying to learn more. If you have any advice on refinancing or if that is a good option for me, let me know.
I recently posted about the fact I'm 26 years old and I'm in $95,487.73 worth of debt, and I want to talk about it. Up until 24 hours ago, I did not know that was actually the total of all of my debt, credit cards, and student loans. That number also does not include my auto loan, and if we are adding in my auto loan, the total number is $110,938.83. Since totaling up all of my debt, I don't think I've actually gotten one good breath of oxygen in the last 24 hours. I feel like there is an elephant sitting on my chest, and I don't think I can sit still because all I keep repeating is $95,487.73. All of this debt was racked up through decisions I made between the ages of 18 and 26. My first associate's degree I got from a community college, and I didn't have to pay for it because of the Pell Grant, but I decided to go to a university and got my bachelor's degree, which is where I really started to rack up the debt. Then in the last 2 years, I decided to finish a nursing degree at a community college in the last 2 years, but that's where I started to rack up even more debt. What really sucks is realizing that the majority of these student loans is not from tuition. It's actually from living expenses and living way above my means. My debt comprises of 2 credit cards, 5 federal student loans, and 5 private Sallie Mae loans. I can handle the federal student loans, but when I tell you Sallie Mae is bending me over and not in a way I like, it's actually insane. Sallie Mae is genuinely evil, and they prey on young students. And the reason why they take advantage of young students is because they know if you're reaching out to a private loan like that, you genuinely need it. Out of the 5 Sallie Mae loans I have, one of the interest rates that is the highest is 16.28%. The lowest interest rate I have with Sallie Mae is 9.88%. Now, my federal student loans are between 4 and 6%, which I think is manageable. Although I had parents who would tell me what I should or shouldn't do, I never had anybody really sit me down and fully teach me financial literacy. I never had anybody sit me down and really explain to me the scope of what I was doing and what it would look like in the future when I had to pay for it. In the moment, all of the student loans just felt like fake money because they just kept coming and I just kept spending. I don't regret any of the experiences I've had between the ages of 18 and 26 or any of the things that I've done, but I do wish that I managed my finances way better than this. I think what's even more sad is a lot of these student loans were going to rent, which my rent was around $1,200 a month, and that's been consistent over the last 2-3 years. Thankfully, I do have a finance bro as a boyfriend, and he is really great at managing money and managing wealth, and so I am working with him to do a snowball effect. If I snowball all of my loans at the current rates that they are without consolidating them, I can pay all of this off by 2032. It's really sad because I'm excited about starting my first nursing job next month, but at the same time, I know that all of the money I'm making is going to debt. I'm turning 27 this year, and I wish I could be thinking about starting a family or getting married or buying a house, but really, I can't think about anything but paying off this debt. The last thing I would want to do is bring a child into this world while I have debt hanging over my head. So it almost feels like my life is kind of on hold right now, but I feel like it's even more motivation to just pay this off as quickly as possible. It is what it is. What's done is done. And at the end of the day, if you are in your early 20s and you're thinking about taking out student loans, I urge you to reconsider and ask yourself whether or not you really truly need it. If I knew then what I know now, I would tell myself that no experience, no desire, no want is worth the stress that I feel now.
Am I delulu enough to pay off $46,000 in student loan debt in 2026? I don't know. Let's find out together. Hi, my name's Kelsey. I'm 27 years old and I haven't paid a lick of my student loans. Why, you might ask? I was terrified and I didn't know what I signed up for when I was 18. But nonetheless, we are here and I want to buy a house and retire one day. So first things first, what I did is I created a visual inside of Canva to help me track my progress physically. My physical tracker, my next plan is to pay off a chunk of this because I have actively been saving the past 5 years, but I have not been paying them.
I've got $87,000 of student loans, and now the government is like, pay up, no mercy, no support. This country sets us up for failure. They handed out student loans to 18-year-olds with no real world guidance, and now they're shocked that we're drowning. And we even talk about the interest, because my interest rate is about 6% on my student loans. That's after I consolidated them. It used to be 6.5%. My 87,000 used to be about 65,000. With the way that interest is on my student loans, it is growing faster than I can even pay it off. And now they're gonna garnish wages, wreck us, and punish us while refusing to cap interest rates or fix the system. It's not justice, it's exploitation.
I knew it was going to be expensive. Me going back to school might have been really, really bad. I've done one semester at George Mason so far. I took out $12,000 of loans to do 5 classes. I found out summer classes are going to be way more expensive because they don't have the same amount of aid in the summer. So I'm like, great, now I can't make this go faster than I wanted it to. Basically, my first semester was a spring semester. I applied and I was really rushed to try to get away to school. I turned 25 and I needed to go. If I wasn't going then, I wasn't going at all. When I got the real number for how much it was going to cost to go to George Mason, I cried and told my dad, like, I'm going now or I'm not going ever. I was just going to have to be okay with how much loans I was taking out. It was more than I thought because I had misunderstood the tuition breakdown. What I had thought was for 2 years, a full year, was actually per semester. So that was not fun to find out. Right before I was about to go, I found out how much I was getting and how much I'd have to pay. I took out $12,000 of loans to pay for like probably $11,000 in tuition. Just tuition, by the way. I'm living at my aunt's for free. So there was however much tuition cost. I got a $5,000 grant from George Mason, an out-of-state grant. I got almost $4,000 of a Pell Grant and like $500 of something else, and that's it. The rest, so that's how much I had to pay. Whatever tuition cost minus that, that's what I had to pay. And then I got $12,000 of loans available. Not money, not grants, whatever, like money I owe back. I just found out this morning when I talked to financial aid that that loan amount is actually for the entire year and not per semester. I didn't know that because I was applying in spring, so everything was just applied in spring. I didn't know that this needed to be split between both fall and spring when I'm doing an entire year. I told my dad that this morning and I'm like, okay, great, whatever. Now there's gonna be like $5,000 in the fall that I can't afford because I won't even have the loans available, and I do not want to take out private loans. And so I thought about that and I was like, you know what, it's probably better that way. Like, this is an estimate, but I'll figure out how to pay what I owe in the fall, and then I'll have less loans that will be like hanging over my head, even though it'll be harder in the fall and in the spring when that money is due. I was looking into it more, and the $5,000 grant is also for an entire year. $5,000 in the spring because I was only doing half of the year in spring, but now I'm gonna have to split that $5,000 between fall and spring, so that's over $2,000 more that it's going to cost me. Am I wrong to think that the $5,000 would be every semester because I got it all in spring. I just feel like this was a bad idea. I didn't want to stay in New Jersey because I really needed to go somewhere else. I really wanted to be close to DC and like move out and do something for the first time. If I had started school in New Jersey, I'd be stuck there. Oh, it's so expensive. And this is what I would always say when people would ask me if I was going to go back to school. I'd always say that I was going to wait until I'm 24 and then I can file as an independent and, you know, get way more money. And I guess technically I did, but not even. To take me 2.5 years. Not all my credits transferred. I can't do it faster because of the summer classes. I can't even think about how much it's going to cost me. To finish a bachelor's, I have an associate's. I can't afford this. And who knows what's going to happen with his administration. There's literally warnings on FAFSA. Watch for court rulings and stuff. Don't want to come out of school with $50,000, $60,000 in debt after going to school for 2 years, not even for any living expenses, any transportation, any food. I was hoping to one day, within the 2.5 years that I'll be here, to move out my own place because I'll be 27. How am I supposed to be full-time, completely full-time in school, still don't have my bachelor's yet, and be making enough money to pay for this stuff and live somewhere? What's the solution here? Like, I want to finish it. I want the degree, but it's so fucking expensive. I don't know. Somebody tell me what to do. I also don't want to spread it out and take a couple classes at a time and maybe not be full-time because I need the degree. I need the bachelor's to be a teacher. It'll just be delaying a career. So I guess if there's any scholarships you can think of, let me know.
Who thinks $7,000 is a reasonable monthly payment amount for student loans? I was completely shocked. I'm a pharmacist. I have student loans. You've probably seen the saga on my TikTok about this. With all of the recent legislation, I just went through StudentGov's website and did some loan simulation. Thank God for income-based repayment, but I just wanted to show how unreasonable it is to have standard repayment only. So in the new proposed bill, there's going to be 2 forms of repayment: standard repayment and the RAP, repayment assistance plan. If you're already in repayment, then the plan that you're in, you can stay in. So it'll only affect new borrowers, or I believe after July of 2028. But I just wanted to see what potentially my options would be. And I just can't even believe this, over $7,000. So again, I'm a pharmacist. I graduated in 2016. I've been paying monthly on my student loans when I can. I have been and saved, so I have been in forced forbearance. But how are people affording this?
So the current job market has me worried, especially for minorities who are completing college. As a first-generation immigrant, my parents didn't have a lot of knowledge about college. I ended up signing for a bunch of loans when I went to pharmacy school, and I have about $140,000 worth of student loan debt. Half of that is private student loan debt, which cannot be forgiven under the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Act, and which I don't even know will exist anymore under the student administration. So when I graduated, I started panicking, and I had a $1,200 a month payment just for my private student loans. That's not including my federal student loans. I had to figure out how to refinance, and when you are trying to refinance, you need to qualify with income, and clearly my income was not supporting the amount of loans that I had taken out. Very frustrating for me to figure out, and I hope that girls that are, first generation immigrants can do a proper cost benefit analysis. I know that's hard to ask for when you're 17 and 18 years old, but please talk to other people. Again, I didn't have cousins here, I didn't have family here, I didn't have anyone to reference. I am the oldest child. Again, it's not everybody's case. My husband has a very different background from me. He did his undergrad at Columbia University. His parents paid for his schooling, so he comes from a place of privilege, which I wish I could have related to, but I can't. Sorry, I got distracted. I was doing my makeup. But what I'm just saying is, if you can, always, always, always choose the cheaper college option, unless it's a very specialty or niche program, which is what I had thought I was going to do, which is why I chose St. John's University. Do not go to St. John's University. Honestly, the quality of St. John's University education was horrible, and $60,000 or whatever the base tuition was per year, it was insane. I ended up getting a bachelor's in education. I have enough credits for my bachelor's in pharmaceutical sciences, and I also got a master's in psychology because as a teacher you need to go and get a master's. I got my master's at a much cheaper college this time and a much better college experience. Unfortunately, that college has closed down now, but All I'm saying is if you are a first generation immigrant and you are looking at colleges and you're choosing colleges and you see this current job market, please do your due diligence, do your research, look into fields that are foolproof and that are recession proof, hopefully. And yeah, good luck.
I borrowed just under $200,000 for my education, so that included undergrad and law school. But it was $198,876.01 if we're being exact. And currently I've paid that exact same amount back, $198,876.01. I really wish that meant that I was just done paying off my student loans, but unfortunately not all that money's gone straight towards principal. It's also had to cover interest that's been accrued. So about 2/3 has gone towards principal and the other third has paid back interest. So to date, it is $66,498.55 in interest. And something interesting, just because the amount that I've paid back is the exact same as the amount that I originally borrowed. Currently, my payoff amount is the exact same as the accrued interest. So that same $66,498.55. What's really crazy is that $27,000 of that interest accrued just while I was still in school. And the majority of that really while I was in law school. When I was in undergrad, I borrowed $20,000 in student loans, and that accrued about $2,500 in interest while I was still in undergrad. So I actually paid all of that off during college while I was serving in bartending. And then when I went straight through to law school, I borrowed an additional about $180,000. So those new loans combined with my $20,000 of student debt from undergrad accrued $24,417.54 in the 3 years that I was in law school, and then the 6-month grace period before I had to start paying back the loans. And mind you, these were government student loans with fixed interest rates between 3.8 and 7.6% interest. They weren't variable. It wasn't double-digit interest rates. Now, it took me about another year after that 6-month grace period to actually be able to start paying the loans back, just while I was passing the bar, moving states, getting a job, all that stuff. And during that time, I accrued another $9,340.30 in interest. So by the time I actually started paying them back, 8 years after I took out the first loan, they had accrued $36,294.83 in interest. Because of the interest that I paid off in undergrad, it made a small dent. But when I actually started paying them back, I owed $231,179.28. I've been repaying the loans for 4 years and 9 months now. And during that time is where the additional $30,000 in interest has come in. But I'm now accruing less than $250 a month in interest, and when I first started, I was accruing about $1,300 a month in interest.
I always thought that the people who complained about student loans were the ones that had really high loans, that it's like you're never going to pay it off, so why are you even trying type of thing. So I was never worried about interest, right? Mine is only about 17,000, so I was like, I'm going to pay it off within the time frame. I was like, I don't have to worry about interest because mine isn't that bad. That's literally what I thought. So today I was like, you know what, let me just sit down and do the math because I've been making payments, so my loan should be going down by a lot. That's not really what happened. I did the calculations and my beginning balance was $16,417. I have made six payments of $180, a total of $1,070. My current balance is $15,827. It has been reduced by $590, which means $480 of those other dollars went into interest. Which means that I have literally paid half of interest. Half of my payments are going into interest and half of that is going into my balance. And the fact that my beginning balance is $16,400, it's really not that much. But the fact that it's not moving, it means that I'm never going to end up paying this off. This is why the entire system is just a scam. Like, how is it that school education is already so high to begin with? And then on top of that, the loan companies take such advantage of you that none of it makes any sense.
I think a lot of people who have a lot of student loans are in the same shoes with this girl. They didn't even know how much that loan is or what it represented before getting into it, and they thought they could just make the minimum payment and pay off in like a year. As it turns out, that's not the case for them at all. If they just make the bare minimum in terms of payments, only roughly half of that money is actually going towards the principal, and the other half is actually just paying off the interest that's being accrued. So to her, that pretty much meant that the $500 out of $1,000 that she paid was for nothing. And with food prices and cost of living so high, a lot of people are really feeling the impact of these student loan payments as well.